your point is, or
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
okay.
Okay, so I'll
Okay.
introduce you and then you can go through with your presentation.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for Undocumented Student Week of Action. Today we have a financial aid presentation by Araceli. She's going to be talking about the DREAM Act and how to apply for it. We will be posting this on YouTube, so take a look over there. And Araceli, take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Araceli. I'm from Mount San Jacinto College, the Financial Aid Office. And today I'm going to go over the DREAM Act, what it is, a little bit of the application, how to apply, and things like that. It's going to be for the 2021-22. Okay, so one of the things, or our agenda for today, will be going over a little bit of what the legislation and support is, the state aid applications, keeping and managing your aid, some resources, and then some questions if we have any at the end. Okay, so the California DREAM Act, basically, it allows a non-resident and some undocumented students that are interested in attending a school in the state of California that are eligible for the DREAM Act applications so that they can receive state aid. Okay, so the California DREAM Act. So the California DREAM Act, it's considered the California DREAM Act of 2021. It was from the Assembly member, Gil Cedillo, and basically it has three different bills. It has the AB 540, which was in 2001. We have, which that's the one, that's probably your main one, where it allows non-resident students to pay in-state fees. So if we didn't have this bill, then our non-resident students would actually have to pay out-of-state fees, and that's a really high fee to pay for education. But so this one will allow those students to pay the actual in-state fees. We also have the AB 130, which was enacted in 2011, and that one is the one that basically allows scholarships to be available for students where we can actually award undocumented students some scholarships that may be out there for them. And then we have the AB 540 says the same thing, which is the second part, which basically is the one that it allows state-funded grants for undocumented students, which include our main grant, which is the Cal Grant. Okay, so one of the important things that I do want to consider is the main requirement to be eligible for some of these state funds or state aid, or even those state fees, is you have to be considered an AB 540. And some of those requirements is they're actually looking at the time and the coursework. So it's either going to be option A or option B. Option A is probably the one that's been here the longest, and that one is the one that requires 3 years of high school credits with an actual 3 years of school attendance. In the past, it used to be only the 3 years in high school, but now they've added where it can actually be 3 years total attendance in any California school. Okay, so you can do it from elementary, middle school, or high school. So you can have a combination of maybe 1 in middle school and 2 in high school, as long as it totals a 3. If you do not meet that requirement, then option B, which is the state bill of 68, which was in 2017, where it gives students the opportunity to, if they have 3 years attendance in any California school or equivalent, whether it's a high school, adult school, or a community college. Okay, so they did add that option in 2017, so that's good. The second part of it is they have to also not only meet those 3 years, they also have to have completed either the high school diploma or GED, the HiSET, the TSAC, or the CHSPE, or earned an associate's degree from a community college, or meet the minimum required to transfer to a Cal State or a UC. And then the third requirement to the first one and the second one, it's all non-resident students do have to basically file a waiver, which is an affidavit with the college or the university that the student is attending, that they are basically wanting to pursue their residency. Okay, doesn't mean that you have to become a resident, a legal resident, or anything like that. It's just that you are aware and that you are planning to pursue that. Okay, who is the DREAM Act application for? So the DREAM Act application, it will apply to basically all your undocumented students and non-resident students who do meet the requirements for that AB 540. Okay, you can have a DACA or not apply for DACA. Just depends, how old you are. I know right now DACA is probably not ineffective, where some of the students probably 2 years ago had actually applied for it. And the other thing is you cannot be FAFSA eligible. If you're FAFSA eligible, then basically you would be filling out the actual FAFSA and receiving financial aid under that one. Okay, the impact on state aid. So, because I know DACA right now, it's a little bit up in the air. So whether it stays or it gets taken away, it actually will not affect basically the students being eligible for the state aid. Okay, because DACA is not an actual requirement for the state aid. It's not a requirement for the AB 540 eligibility. So students will still be able to actually apply for the state aid. Okay, FERPA, this one, basically, we do want to let you know that there is a privacy, a Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, where once you do become a student, and only because a lot of times we do work with students that may be under the age of 18, or, your work with the spouses and the other parents, because of FERPA and because you are considered, your own school information, we do not share your personal information, your educational information with another party without your basically consent. Okay, so especially this is more intended to let students know that are under the age of 18, that are applying for financial aid, that your parents are not able to just ask for your financial aid information without your consent, even if you're still under 18, or even if we're using or the application requires your parental information without your consent. What may the AB 540 students apply for? So if you are determined to be an AB 540, that is probably the main requirement, that you do have to be considered an AB 540. So as an AB 540 student, you are able to apply for the California College Promise Grant, the Cal Grant. These are your state aid, the Student Success Completion Grant, the Middle Class Scholarship, the Chafee Grant, any type of institutional aid, and then some scholarships. So the California College Promise Grant, basically it's the grant that will take care of your tuition fees, only your tuition fees. It does not take care of like your parking, your ASB, or your books. It is not a cash award. And basically the way you qualify is more than likely we would get the information off of your DREAM Act application. Now, if you do not fill out a DREAM Act application for whatever reason it is, then if you do have any of these situations, like you receive TANF, CalWORKS, SSI, or General Assistance, or maybe you're a certified from the California Veterans, that you are a dependent of a veteran, there is an additional paperwork for this one that you would have to apply with the California Department of Veterans to see if you're eligible, and then that's what you would bring in to us. If you're eligible, you could be eligible as a recipient of the Congressional Medal, and that's basically if you're like also like a child of the or a dependent of a victim of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Also, or if you're a dependent of a deceased law enforcement that was killed in a line of duty, you could also qualify based on that. okay? Or you have to meet the income standards, that's the one we normally tend to look at your FAFSA for, okay? The Cal Grants for Dreamers. So this one is probably your main grant. Okay, this is the one that actually helps you with the books and supplies and any other expense that you may have. And then there's two basically categories that Cal Grant has. It's either the entitlement or your California Community College transfer. Okay, and so the high school entitlement, what that one is, it's geared more for your high school seniors that are graduating or graduated the year before, that they will have the opportunity to be awarded, and they are considered first for these grants, and they have to meet the AB 540 requirements. They do have to have a high school diploma or GED. That's for financial and in general. And then you have to have your GPA submitted. Okay, for the CCN Entitlement Cal Grant, that one is for the students that also meet the AB 540, but are planning to actually transfer already. It's called the Transfer Entitlement Cal Grant, the A or the B. There is also the C, the Cal Grant C, same requirement. You have to meet the AB 540. The only difference between the C and the A and the C is intended for the students that are actually enrolled or interested in the occupational or technical programs that we do offer, which are normally your programs that are under 2 years. Okay. So you could also be eligible for the Cal Grant C. Okay, all students have to meet the deadline to be considered for the Cal Grant. And basically what it is, a Dreamer Cal Grant application will consist of the actual California Dream Act application and the non-social GPA. Okay, and I'll let you know how you would submit that one. So the deadlines for Cal Grant is on or before March 2nd of every single year. And this is the priority deadline for our state of California to be considered for the state grants. So you have to complete and submit the California Dream Act application and the non-SSN Cal Grant GPA form. And the second little bullet there, basically when you're in high school, the high school counselors or registrars, whoever is handling the GPA, they would submit that GPA for you. Okay, they are required by the state to submit all high school seniors GPA by starting October 1st. So one of the things that you do want to do is probably check with the counselor just to make sure that your GPA was submitted. The requirement for it has to be a 2.0 GPA or higher. Okay, and then what you will do is you will create an account on mygrantinfo.csac.ca.gov. You'll go ahead and create an account there, and that's basically to have access to your Cal Grant information. So if you do your Cal Grant, your Dream Act application, I'm sorry, and your GPA has been submitted, let's say as early as October 1st, which is when the Dream Act application is available, then normally in a month, so November, the students, when they log into their CSAC account or web grants, then they'll actually be able to see the status of their Cal Grant for the year 2021-22. The Student Success Completion Grant. That one is an additional grant that is kind of in a way like an incentive grant to help or to have students try to complete their education at a community college, because this is only available at a community college, basically to get all your classes and complete on time. So a community college, normally it's a 2-year institution. So, 2 years, maybe 2.5, 3 years, just depending on the major that you are studying. It's just an incentive grant to, if you go full time, to get all the classes you need and transfer on time, then you could actually be considered for the Student Success Completion Grant. The one thing that it does have is that it is for students that are actually eligible and receiving the Cal Grant B or C. So you have to be granted or awarded the Cal Grant in order to be considered for this grant. So if you do have the Cal Grant and you are in 12 through 14.99 units, and this is of course per semester, you could be eligible for an additional 649. If you're in 15 plus units for the semester, then you can actually receive up to $2,000 in addition to your actual Cal Grant award. Okay. The California Middle Class Scholarship. This one is for students that are going to a UC or a Cal State system school, and it's intended for the students that did not qualify for your regular Cal Grant A, B, or C because the income, the family income, was above their income ceilings for the A, B, or C. So then the student can actually be considered for the California Middle Class Scholarship if their income is up to, it can go up to 184,000 a year. Okay, but this would only be once you do, or for those students that are in the UC system or Cal State system. The Chafee Grant. So the Chafee Grant, it is considered state, but it is actually also federal. So, and this one, it's intended for your foster youth that were in the system between the ages of 16 and 18. Even if it was just for one day, if they have documentation that they were in the foster system during those ages, then they could be considered for the Chafee. They can be renewed annually all the way up to the age of 26. It is based on need, like most of our grants are actually based on need. They do have to have good standing, and this one does require a minimum of half-time enrollment. Another program that we do have is the Msjc Promise Program. This program here is for those students that are attending our campus and did not qualify for the California College Promise Grant, which is the tuition waiver. And we're talking about they didn't qualify because their income was too high for the program, or they didn't meet any of those other requirements, like a dependent of a veteran and things like that, then the student can actually be considered for the Msjc Promise Program. It is considered for first-time, full-time students, okay, which means like right here, you have to be considered full-time, no transfer units. The only way we would accept units is if you're like still in high school and you're doing concurrent or dual enrollment, then those units won't be considered transfer units. They're actually still part of Msjc. So those won't count against you. You have to also apply for Msjc. You have to be a California resident or the exempt group, which normally would be your 8540 students. You have to have a high school diploma or GED. Okay. For Dreamers, you must apply for your Dream Act application because that's how we actually determine if you're not going to qualify for the other one to see if you can qualify for this one. Okay. You must be enrolled in at least 12 units for the fall and the spring. It does require full-time. It is recommended also for first-time students to take the English and Math and the CSER 100, which is your College Success and Career Readiness class in the first year. Okay, and you must maintain a 2.0 while you're at Msjc. Okay, and one of the other things is that if you do meet all this criteria, and if you're accepted into the actual first year program, because I know there's a lot of applications and not everybody will be considered, but if you do, the students that are in the first year experience program will be priority when considering for the Msjc Promise Program, because there is basically a limited funds out there. So okay, so if you're able to apply for the Msjc first year experience program, then that can actually help you be considered first. At Msjc, we also do have scholarships. Scholarships are basically everywhere, but Msjc does have a scholarship, and scholarship is free money. So we want you to just make sure that you try to apply for everything that is available for you. And if you have any questions regarding the foundation or any type of scholarship, all you have to do is you just go on to their website, or you can go ahead and email them. But the MSJC can offers various scholarships for all of our students. And normally, the way it works is that there's an application. You'll go in there. There's deadlines. There's always a fall deadline and then a spring deadline. You fill out the application, all the information's on there, and then you submit it. And then what normally is donors from, will come in, and then they just review the applications, and then they consider and award the students that they basically have reviewed and wish to award some type of grant. So if you are able to look into the foundation's site to see when their application will be available for the spring, and then apply for it. Another thing that we do have on campus that is to help the student is MSJC Foundation's Place for Success. And those are additional, basically, resources for students that did not qualify for financial aid, because we do have some students that unfortunately don't qualify every single semester, every year. So if you did not qualify for financial aid, then you can actually apply for the Place for Success, and they can actually assist students with the basic needs, emergency food, books and supplies, some professional clothing for, their classes and things like that, or any hygienic items that the student might be in need of. So now that we've gone through the state aid, state of California, our institutional aid, basically the institutional aid is basically any type of program in addition to like the financial aid that's available. If you are planning to go to a Cal State system, then they do have what is called the State University Grant. And then at the university level, they have the university grant. And both of these grants, normally, if a student was not considered or awarded a Cal Grant, then actually if the university can actually consider you for one of these grants to help you with that tuition cost or expense that the student will have once they start the school. Okay. We also have the EOPS and CARE on campus, and then they can help you with other resources. They have other resources to help you with books, certain expenses, care for if you have any child care expenses. They can also help you with that. All the universities, the majority of them, we do have scholarships available, and there's also private scholarships that sometimes we would administer. You would just have to go into our foundation website, and it would be outside of the general scholarship that we offer. Sometimes there are some scholarships that we have donors that want us to actually offer them, so you can also look into that. Okay, so one of the things we want to mention about scholarships, because for some reason scholarship is probably the aid that students least apply for. Scholarships are everywhere. Okay, it is free money. You don't have to pay it back. Most of them are awarded more on merit, skills, or a unique characteristic that the scholarship is actually looking for. And the sources can be all over. It could be foundations, employers, churches, Walmart, Stater Brothers, just going onto their website and looking for any scholarship offers that they might have. The deadlines are different than what financial aid has, because they are outside. They have their own deadline. So you do want to, if you do decide to look for scholarships, start looking at them based on the deadline, so you know which ones are coming up to try to see if you can apply. The only thing that we do know about scholarships, based on what students have said, is a lot of them of these applications do require some type of like a statement, or it's just a summary of why they should consider you for a scholarship. So, and I think that's probably the hardest one for students to do, is write out something. But I believe that is the main thing that we've heard of why students for some reason don't apply. But if you can just do your own little personal statement of why you think you should receive the a scholarship, just try to do it. It is free money, especially if you're transferring. School sometimes can be really expensive, and it is free money, so it is available for you. It's just on this one, it's just a little bit more of actually um, setting some time aside and actually researching for scholarships, because there is a lot of scholarships out there. Okay, accessing the Dream Act application, which is it's called CADAA. So this is the way your Dream Act application, when you go onto the website, would look. Okay, so it's intended for, of course, your undocumented students, whether they've applied with DACA or not, your temporary protective, if you have a temporary protective status, or a U visa holder. Okay. Another thing is, the main thing, of course, is you have to. So even if you have this status on the top of who can apply, your college or university where you are planning to attend needs to determine that you are considered an AB 540 student. Okay, the admissions or the registrar side of the schools are the ones that determine that part. And for Dream Act state aid, you have to be considered an AB 540 student. Okay. All males between the ages of 18 and 25 do have to register with Selective service. That is a requirement. And the other thing that the Dream Act requires is both a student and a parent, if you are dependent, must sign the application. So these are some of the things that you would want to have to get right before you're getting ready to fill out the application. You want to, if you're the student, if you have a driver's license, have it handy, because they will ask you for that. For the parents and the students, you will want to have your 2019 either W-2s or tax returns. For both, if you both worked in 2019, any type of untaxed income like child support received, things like that, they will ask you for that, the amounts. Any bank statements, they will want the value of that. If you have a business, farm, or real estate, and real estate normally is intended for like a second home, other than where you live at. Okay, if you have any stocks and bonds, you do want to have the values for that as well. Okay, and we do recommend that you keep all your financial documents. It's just in one particular place, so you know exactly where you have all those documents. So for the Dream Act application, this is the website. So it's available October 1st. And for the state of California, you want to apply by March 2nd. It is available after March 2nd, which is no problem. But to be considered for that state aid that we went over, you must apply by March 2nd. A summary of the application process. So first, you submit your Dream Act application online before March 2nd. And one of the things that you do want to make sure is that when you do apply for your Dream Act, your name must match what is on your admissions application for the school that you're planning to attend. So if you're using two last names, then you want both to reflect the same information. The information needs to match in order for us to make sure that that is the correct application for the correct student. Okay, so you want to make sure you are aware of that. Once you apply for the Dream Act application, at the very end, there is always a confirmation page. You always want to look at that right away. It will actually indicate whether or not there's something that you do need to fix or correct or to be aware of. You want to do that well in advance, so that when the schools have access to your application, they can actually process it. Okay. You must be, for the Dream Act application, you must be enrolled in an accredited and qualified California college or university. So I know all community colleges of state of California, all Cal States and UCs do accept the Dream Act application. You're private and independent. You just want to probably double check that their school is actually or does actually participate under the Dream Act. You want to make sure you establish your residency. So when you do apply for your school, you want to make sure you have your AB 540 processed. Okay, that's um, a main point that you do need to take care of, because once we review, because like on the next little bullet, your Dream Act application information will be made available to the schools. So once we have access to your Dream Act application, we check your name, everything matches, then we check out your residency status. You have to have an eligible residency status, which is either under the AB 540. And if it's not, if it's showing you that you're out of state, a foreign student, then we would not be able to award you any of the state aid until you do take care of that. So you do want to try to complete that process once you do apply for the admissions. That way, when you do start registering for your classes, it's not charging you these out-of-state fees for your classes, okay? Which a lot of our students unfortunately do come across that because they're unaware that they have to do their AB 540 step, the process step, okay? If you haven't heard anything, you haven't seen anything, you're more than welcome to contact the college just in case there's anything that we do need of you, okay? So once you've applied for Dream Act, you apply for the school, you're good to go. I mentioned earlier you want to set up your Cal Grant account. It's called Web Grants for Students. This is the way their web page looks. So as early as November, as long as you've already done your Dream Act and your GPA has been submitted, you can actually log into and create your account so that you can access what the status is. Okay, it can actually tell you whether or not they received a GPA for you if you've done your application. And then later on, if you were awarded, you will need to know that just in case. It's also there if you decide to change schools, you would have to change the school on there for Cal Grant. So it is available for you 24/7. Just go in there and create your account as early as November. Well, at least if you're a high school student. If you're already a college student, you can always just go in there and check your status. So how do I keep and spend my aid? That's a question that some of the times we do get from students because a lot of times they'll get a disbursement and their tuition is paid, so they don't really know what the remainder financial aid is. So in order to keep your financial aid, one of the things is for all the males, you have to register for Selective service. Okay, this is their website, or you can do it through the post office. And basically, you have to be between the ages of 18 and 25. Okay, I do believe that emails are sent to all males, all CADAA students. Normally, all males between they're around 18, they do start getting a little bit of notifications to register for Selective service. It is a requirement for the United States, so they just want you to make sure that all males, even for the state aid, you do apply. You don't have to necessarily have an SSN, but in the future, it actually would benefit you if you at least apply. Even at this point, if you are an undocumented student, it actually could help you towards the future. So please make sure you do register for your Selective service. Okay, so how do I keep my aid? So one of the things for financial aid is not just because you apply for the Dream Act application and then your GPA. Once you've been awarded financial aid, there are certain requirements that you do have to keep or maintain in order to keep receiving financial aid semester after semester. One of the things is you have to be enrolled and accepted in an eligible program. Okay, so if you're like at Msjc, Normally, those would be like your um, certificates, associates, and beyond. Okay, so if you're just here to, what is it, one of those options like undecided, then that is something that basically you will not be eligible for financial aid for. So you have to be at school basically pursuing something. Okay. You must maintain your satisfactory academic progress. That's considered your SAP, and that's throughout all the schools. It does require for all students to maintain a 2.0 GPA with 67% completion of their courses. Okay, so you do have to maintain that in order to keep your financial aid semester after semester. At the end of every semester, we do send out emails basically notifying to look at your self-service account for that SAP status. So that way you're aware of what your status is right before you start the next term, because if you're not eligible, then that means that you will not be receiving aid. So you need to be aware of that. That way you're not surprised when you don't receive your funding, and you've already started classes and you were just be aware of it. That way you know how to prepare yourself for the actual semester. Without financial aid, if that's the case, if you're eligible, then it's just a matter of receiving your financial aid. And the other thing is, just remember to always submit your CADAA every single year, okay? Between October 1st and March 2nd. Remember, financial aid, you have to apply every single year. What can my financial aid be spent on? So financial aid basically is intended, we don't collect receipts or anything like that. Financial aid is basically intended if you have like any tuition expenses, any fees associated, like your health fee, transportation fee, things like that, anything for room and board, books, supplies, transportation, and other needs that you may have for school purposes. And some of the resources that we do have, if you do have any questions or concerns regarding the DREAM Act, any of your state grants, there is some sources. The California Student Commission is your main office that does basically, they're the ones that award all your state aid, whether it's the Cal Grant, the SSEG, the Chafee. If you have any questions about any of your state aid, you can email them. You can go onto their website. They have a lot of information there, or you can always give them a call if you really need to speak to somebody regarding your Cal Grant eligibility, especially. You can always give them a call. Okay, some additional information and other websites. We do have the Cash for College website. The Cash for College website is basically intended for all students and parents, or anybody that needs some type of assistance with either filling out the DREAM Act, the FAFSA, things like that. You can go onto their website, and right now, especially in this time frame, we do have a lot of workshops out there that are available or open to the public. A lot of them are held through other high schools, but it is considered public, so you can actually join in and get some information if needed. Okay, the I Can Afford College is a little bit more information regarding other financial aid, probably more a little bit of your additional scholarships that may be out there. Of course, the CalDreamAct.org, information about DreamAct, um, what students can apply under that. If you have any concerns or issues regarding any immigration, you can contact them. We have maldef.org. I believe that is a really good website for just a lot of information for our undocumented students. And of course, the California college community. If you want to look at what the state, anything about the state, the bills and things like that that are being passed, you can also look at that as well. Okay, and that is it for our presentation. If you any questions, we can also, for the financial aid office, can actually help you with any questions that you may have as well. All of our information is on our website. If you can reach us by phone, the virtual lobby. We do have workshops out there. If you have any questions regarding any of the applications, we can also help you with that as well.
Thank you so much, Araceli, for that great presentation. Like Araceli said, there's tons of information on the financial aid website. I'll be sure to link that in the description box on the YouTube below. If you have any questions, feel free to email dreamers@msjc.edu, and we can forward out those emails to whoever needs to get them. So thank you for joining us here today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.